Hi Annie, this is Vernon. This is my assignment one video. My group is a group of six teachers at a school that's close by here in Orduña in Vizcaya in Spain. They're 30 to 50 years old and from the beginner to upper intermediate level English English level teachers. What I tried in class was to tell the students who were there. Initially, there were two students, and I explained to them that I thought it was very useful to be able to think that they were English to facilitate their class, right? I tried this before, and it seemed to have helped other students that I taught face to face. I told it just to two of the students, and it seems that they were throughout the class, they were more receptive, responsive, productive in what they were doing, yes? So that was thinking in English for two of the students. A little later on, two other students came to the class. This had not been explained to them. And towards the end of the class, it seemed that there was a difference for this, yeah? So about thinking in English, it seemed to have helped these students because of their natural reluctance to speak and their problems with pronunciation. Maybe they don't feel too good about making a mistake, So they were a bit reticent, and as they generally are. But it seemed that the other two students were much more proactive, and they wanted to speak and say something, yes? So during the class, during the written part of the exercise, they had tried to make a lot of effort, even physically, like frowning their face and forehead, to try to write certain sentences down. And then I told them, and that was a part where I maybe didn't exactly think about it, but I told them that they should just allow it to flow freely. Yeah, have this flow attitude about what they were learning and what they were thinking and doing. And it seems that this is relevant. Going back to, well, the reason why is because of reference to certain two books where it seems creativity is a big part of learning as well, yeah? And especially in terms of the materials that are given to students. But also, I think is relevant to EAP because the students are able to be objective about their learning. They have a sufficient level of English, structured English, even grammar and vocabulary, to be able to know what they can do. Yes, so that's why I think it's relevant in this case and to this assignment. Because, for example, in the Vietnam readings and the other ones, of what we've read in the forums, the reluctance and the reticence of students of thinking they're in a foreign land, of being second to native speakers, it just automatically becomes a lesser of a problem when the student is already thinking in English, and if they are allowing to free flow. Yeah. So the reluctance to speak is maybe covered. Half of it is covered by thinking in English, and possibly the other half is, or maybe more or less, some level of reluctance to speak is overcome just by dropping the barriers to our own learning. Yeah. Okay. So I think even during these two students that were told about thinking in English and after that being free flowing were much more expressive in their class. They were told to be celebrities, and they were much more expressive, exuberant, jovial, speaking differently, and all of them were not as afraid of making mistakes. They even self-corrected very well. I tried as much as possible to not give the answers. I took a long time to give any specific answer. These two students, well, the student who was speaking in English, was thinking in English, even said dressed instead of dressed, like the other student had done. the one that was not supposedly thinking in English. And just so after the class, I thought that it was a marked difference between these two students who just happened to have been told to think in English, and with all the free flow during the class, it seemed that they were much more productive, and all of them were responsive in this sense. Yes. So that's why I think it's relevant in this context. It's something that I tried, and it seemed to have worked well, or the class went well. I'm not sure if it was just a coincidence or what, but in the context of teachers, in this case, they have pedagogical experience. They know what it is to be a teacher. They know what it is to be a learner. And I think in this context, in the EAP context, for them trying to get a certification in English, this type of approach, allowing them to think differently, to drop their own barriers, is a big stepping stone to learning. Instead of us as teachers, or me as the teacher, trying to figure out a lesson plan that's very interesting, or grammar and other materials to be able to pick them up a level, maybe just allowing them to use their own tools, experience that they already have, vocabulary that they already have, makes them or allows them to let the surface to the top and be more creative in things. And also, it was told to them, I told them that the idea is for me to facilitate their learning throughout the course, right? So even now, they maybe think positively, they're free to think. So the little mistakes that they make now, they will eventually in the future learn more difficult things also in a more easy way. They'd be more free to make their mistakes, but they'd be able to learn in a more easy way. Anyway, that's my assignment. I hope it's sufficient to the task. Okay, goodbye.